Hi, welcome back to the Character Wins program. My name is Dr. Stephen Long, and today we're going to be continuing our discussion on learning skills and strategies. Today we're going to focus on exam taking skills. There are 5 strategic elements about taking exams. 1, what you should be doing before you arrive at the exam site. 2, preview the exam. 3, assess your time limits. 4, what to do about confusing items on an exam. And 5, essay questions. Don't overcomplicate this part of the process. If you've done a good job of learning from your lectures, learning from the textbook, and preparing for the exam, I guarantee you this is the easiest part. Just tell them what you know. Now, students who look for complex test-taking strategies usually fail to study sufficiently or effectively or efficiently for the exam. So simply, just be prepared when you arrive. Just be prepared, arrive early. Get there maybe 10 minutes before the exam. Bring all your necessary tools. Obviously an extra pen. If you're taking an essay exam, bring an extra blue book. But most importantly, just find a comfortable workspace. As an instructor, I allowed my students to choose their workspace and arrange it any way they wanted to. And so the sincere students came early, and they changed their desks in all different ways. And 1, it rewarded the sincere and authentic students. But 2, the students who had ideas about cheating, now everything went out the window because what they were planning for is now kaput. So just find, you may not have that option in your next exam, but the key is to just find a comfortable workspace. Once you receive the copy of the exam, preview it first. Just go through all the pages and identify the question types. See how many multiple choice, how many true, false, fill-ins, matching, short answer, and essays. See what the composition of the exam is. And then organize the exam as you're going through it. You're going to recognize themes, just like you did as far as preparing for the exam. And choose the one you're most prepared for first, such as I really understand Abraham Lincoln's philosophy about slavery. So that's the one I'm going to do first. I'm going to find that, and I'm going to do that first. Do the one you're most prepared for first. And then choices. Sometimes instructors allow their students to omit certain parts of the exam. So if you choose the essay, you can eliminate the true, false, and matching, something like that. So just understand that there might be choices. So if you don't preview the exam, you may not know that there's a choice, and you end up completing most of just about all the exam, and then realize that you did some of the hard parts or things that you're not really comfortable with. Instead of doing something that you were really comfortable with. So that's another reason why to preview the exam. Now also, if you really know the material, choose the essay questions. That's a rule of thumb. If you really know the material, if you really understand it from your high-level questions, choose essay questions. If you're not that comfortable, if you're not as confident as you could be, the objective items such as multiple choice and true false will be a better choice for you. To assess your time limits, basically just know how much time you have. For single setting classes, the 50-minute classes, obviously that's pretty much the amount of time you're going to have. But for block classes, such as the 3-hour block classes, you may want to check with the instructor, because sometimes instructors will want to have class after the exam is over. So just be sure how much time you have. And then allocate your time appropriately, such as if 20% of the exam is true and true-false questions, well, allocate 20% of your time to the true-false questions. So if it's a 60-minute test and you got 20% of your time towards true-false, that should be just about 12 minutes or so. So just make sure that you allocate your time correctly. And then also notice when you preview the exam, you'll notice what the largest part of the exam is. Maybe it's multiple choice. Maybe it's 60% of the exam, or maybe it's essays. Maybe essays will account for 40% of the exam. Complete the largest part of the exam either in the beginning or the middle. For some reason, a lot of instructors put essay questions at the end, and it takes it allocates for about the majority of the exam, and students are scrambling to complete it. Do the largest part of the exam in the beginning or the middle of your time frame. Don't put yourself under that kind of pressure. It just doesn't make sense. Leave the smallest amount. Let's say fill-ins are only worth 10% of the exam. Leave the fill-ins for the last. Do the largest when you're fresh, either in the beginning or the middle of the exam. Instructors create multiple choice items basically to trick and fool and confuse the student. So like I said before, if you really know the information, choose the essay question, because if you choose the multiple choice questions, you may not get credit for what you really know. But many times you don't have a choice. So the multiple choice items, just understand that instructors create the item to confuse you. So the first thing to do is just to eliminate the obvious choices. There's always going to be at least one silly choice, if you will. Something's just not going to make sense. So just eliminate that right away. Then secondly, look for absolute terms like always, never. This is an indication that that choice is not correct either. And then if you're really stuck, basically what the instructor does is that he'll create at least two items that look very similar, and that's why the instruction says choose the best possible answer, not the correct answer. So now you're down to two, and you got a 50-50 shot, which isn't bad. But if you're still confused, just leave it blank for the time being. Then continue on with that multiple choice section, and the following items may provide a clue as far as the item that you're confused about. This is something that the scholar athletes have told me, that if they're just confused, they just let it go, and then something will click in the follow-up items that may help clear up that confusing item. If it remains confusing when you're completed with the test, go back and just choose one of them. At least you got a 50-50 shot. For younger students, the essay questions are usually the most intimidating, but they don't need to be. Like I mentioned before, if you know the information, that's the essay question is what you want to have. So I'm just going to provide some guidelines here. Number one, as you read the essay question, just circle the key terms. Secondly, what is the specific information that the instructor is looking for, such as, what were the similarities between the lessons learned of the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And here he's looking for some compare and contrast issues. And that leads into the presentation, is how does the instructor want the information presented? So if he asks why, he wants you to analyze things. If he wants you to list things, such as, what are the three similarities between the Korean War and Vietnam War, he wants you to compare and contrast. All right. So just recognize how the information should be presented. If he says distinguish between, that's another key term for compare and contrast. And then obviously you prepared yourself for high-level questions. This is the whys and hows. But how are you going to solve problems? How are you going to analyze the information? Just go through your high-level questions, and that'll be the format that you'll use. And then going into the format is just write in a way that that the instructor can understand. So the first paragraph is just presenting the problem, just repeating the question but in a statement form. And then this second paragraph and onward, depending on how long your essay response is, that's where you're going to be providing the facts. And not only the facts, but the supporting evidence of your position. And that's really what the essay question is all about. It's a position paper. And you're going to be taking a position on a particular topic, and then you're going to be providing supporting evidence of that. And then the final paragraph is just reviewing the problem or the question, the essay question, and then summarizing what you stated in your middle paragraphs. To review the exam taking segment of learning strategies is first, before you arrive, is just make sure you're prepared. Arrive early and choose a comfortable workspace. And then once you receive the exam, is preview it. See what's on the exam and see if you can identify the themes. And then assess your time limits. Know how much time you have, and then organize your test into the amount of time that you have. And then finally, the confusing items. Just understand that the instructor is going to try to confuse you, and if you don't really know the answer right away, just get it down to a 50-50 choice. And then recognize the components of essay questions and how you should answer those. Next week, we're going to conclude this segment on learning strategies about class participation. So until then, have a great week.